Well, every culture has its own set of strange sayings that say one thing but mean another. Today I'm not going to shoot the breeze. I'm going to cut to the chase and spill the tea. And if none of that makes any sense to you, that's okay. It will in a minute. But first, let me welcome you to Mornings with Bishop Robert. Thanks for joining me. My goal is to introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So if our time together today speaks to your heart, let me invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Now grab a cup and lift it up. I'm having coffee, and it's time to talk about the Bible. Well, we Americans have developed some strange sayings to be sure. Shoot the breeze has been around in the U.S. since the early 1900s, and it refers to having a casual, pretty much meaningless conversation with someone. Whereas cutting to the chase means getting to the point quickly and presenting crucial facts. That one came out of studios producing silent movies. I have no idea why. But you can't shoot the breeze and cut to the chase because they're opposites. Now, I'm sure my UK friends want me to get to the bottom of spilling the tea because it might affect their national beverage. But as one might expect, this phrase has nothing to do with clumsily pushing over a cup. In this case, the T, or coffee, the T stands for a capital T and the letter truth. It talks about sharing an important piece of information, something you've absolutely got to know. And it could even be salacious gossip. Well, in today's verse, Paul the Apostle uses some idioms. He says, I've fought the good fight. I've finished the course. Kept the faith. As he was writing this, Paul had grown a bit long in the tooth, which is a phrase that implies that a person is old. Came out of farmers, recognizing that the teeth of horses keep growing. So old horses had long teeth. Paul was sending a letter to his spiritual son, Timothy. He was essentially passing the baton to him with a final letter. He wanted to get his ducks in a row. Passing the baton is something that refers to runners in a relay race, giving the baton to the next runner. And getting ducks in a row is a phrase that likely emerged from a shooting game at local fairs. It means to get things properly organized. Paul said he had fought the good fight. Well, anyone who's tried to follow Jesus knows that it's a battle. We have an enemy. We have an enemy who's deliberate in his attempts to stop us. And he doesn't play fair. But the fight of faith is a good fight. And Paul had fought it well since he met Jesus in that brilliant flash of light on the road to Damascus. It had required harder labor, more imprisonments, worse beatings, and being in frequent danger of death than his previous life did. But it had all been worth it. All that and more. 5 times he had received 39 lashes with a whip from the Jews. He was beaten with rods 3 times, even stoned by a mob for preaching the gospel. 3 times he was shipwrecked. He spent a night and a day in the open ocean. When he says he fought the good fight, he wasn't just whistling Dixie, which is a phrase that means engaging in unrealistic fantasy. His fight had been a real battle, and he had the scars to prove it. He had finished the course. Paul often used athletic analogies to illustrate faith, and here he returns to one of his favorites, that of a runner in a marathon. For most of us, following Jesus is not a sprint. The course he has laid out for most of us will be measured in years of service, just like the Apostle Paul. A marathon runner requires determination, must know how to stay on course and not get sidetracked. They need the stamina developed by deliberate, focused training. Life, most especially life in service to the King, is a marathon. Paul knew he'd run his race well. He was approaching his finish line. He knew the fat lady was about to sing. Now, the first recorded use of the phrase, "It ain't over till the fat lady sings," is believed to be in March 1976 from Ralph Carpenter in the Dallas Morning News, which was a newspaper produced in Dallas, Texas. A basketball game was being played, and the score was tied. Commenting on the game, Carpenter said, "The opera ain't over till the fat lady sings." So the phrase refers to something being over, though it's often used to encourage an underdog not to quit too early. Paul knew he was done. It would not be long for this world. But he wasn't quitting early. He had finished the course. Moreover, Paul the Apostle had kept the faith. He'd been hard pressed on all sides, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Struck down, but not destroyed. He always carried around in his body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus could also be revealed by what he did with his body. He put it to work, and he served well. His faith drove his actions. You know, since most NFL football games are played over the weekend, it's given rise to another phrase, Monday morning quarterback. That relates to someone who's talking about how they would have done things differently, despite the fact that the game is over, which makes their solution useless. Well, one of these days, you're going to get flat, which means to lie down. But it's going to be for the last time. And if you think you're going to go Dutch with God and pay your own way with your own righteousness, well, then you're bonkers. Out of your mind. You won't be able to Monday morning quarterback that one, because it'll be too late to make a decision to give your life to Jesus. The time to make that decision is today, when you've still got a life to give. And if you're watching this, it's not too late, because it ain't over till the fat lady sings. But don't push your luck. It's time to cut to the chase and make your decision. Hey, that's all we got time for this morning, except for me asking you to help me introduce people to the Jesus they never knew and help them get to know him and his word personally and better. So please like this video to help more people see it, and then click follow or subscribe so that you and I can get together every day. And one more thing, share this with a friend, would you? Because as you do, you're part of a team touching hearts all over the world with the love of Jesus. Thanks for helping.